Welcome to the podcast, the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We're in unfamiliar surroundings today, but we're in very, very friendly surroundings, Frank, because we're through here at a Celtic State of Mind, and what an honour it is, what an absolute honour to be asked to help in the fundraising project that Ascom are involved in just now, and raising funds for the birthplace of Glasgow Celtic, St Mary's Chapel Hall in the east end of Glasgow. It was November of 1887 when they had that meeting, and Brother Walfred decided to set up the football club to raise money for the charity to put food on the tables of the East End children. And that meeting, only weeks afterwards, led to another meeting at the house of a family that became very familiar with the name of Glasgow Celtic, because he went to the Maley household to ask actually Tom Maley to get involved with Glasgow Celtic. Tom wasn't in, but his brother was in, and his name was Willie Maley. And he says to him, "Why don't you come along with Tom?" And there you go. That's how history starts. That's how it all kicked off when Willie Maley became not only a player, played in the first game, May of 1888, when we managed, 28th of May, we managed to beat the Forces of Darkness over on the other side of Glasgow, 5-2. But he then went on to become our first manager. Frank, it's a great pleasure for us to come through and to help. Hopefully those who are tuning in and watching us live will think about giving us a donation. I think the total, incredible. I think it's up near £19,000 already. I mean, absolutely incredible. All Paul, John, and all of the workers here at a Celtic State of Mind, they deserve huge credit for giving up their time and investing so much in this project and in this particular fundraising effort. So I hope that everyone watching will think about making a wee donation, and let's get that total way past that 19,000, maybe up to 25,000. But Frank, today we've come through here and watched the game, the Gala, and what a delight that was. I'm going to stick my neck out, mate, and I'm going to ask if you agree with me. Best Celtic performance of the season. That's the best I've seen them. What do you think?
Yeah, I would make 2 points there. I think Celtic played extremely well. And you've got to remember that a manager needs time to build his team up. It's not perfect by any means, but that was a very, very good game. And you've got to remember that Dundee United, I didn't think they were as good as they've been. So you've got to take that into consideration. But the two of the goals they scored was unbelievable. World-class goals. And that's what the fans want to see. And that's how young boys want to be football players when they see brilliant goals getting scored. I remember watching the Lisbon Lions and Billy McNeil that night scoring the goal against Vojvodina in the quarterfinals. And that night I said to myself, I wouldn't mind being a Celtic player. And their goals today remind me of that, how good they were and how good Celtic played. And you can't take that away from Celtic. And to be honest, Tommy, that's put me in a good state of mind.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate, you make me jealous. You make me jealous. I mean, I'm honest with you. You make me jealous because you've just said there, you watched Billy McNeil scoring a goal, European Cup game, and that made you want to become a footballer. And you did it. You did it, Frank. You went on and became a footballer, not just with St Mirren, Liverpool, Glasgow Celtic, over 100 goals. We all talk a good game, mate. People like me and others that do a lot of these podcasts, we talk a right good game about what we would love to do. Problem is, you've actually done it. So it's always an honour to be joined with you. I want to talk a wee bit about the game of the day, and then I want to hear a story from you about how it all began, because I think it's a very uplifting story and it needs to get told. And we may have touched on it in the past, but I want to tell it in a wee bit more detail. Now, today, we're injury ravaged because we've lost 3 players during the week, and we've lost a player who I've got to say to you, Frank, has been a revelation since he came in the shape of Jota. I think he's been outstanding. I think he's a fantastic prospect, and I'm sure a lot of Celtic supporters would agree with me. But we also lost Welsh, and we lost Ralston. And I mean, Tony Ralston at the start of the season, me included, and I'm sure other fans would have said, oh, he's not good enough and all the rest of it. He's probably the most improved player in the Ange Postecoglou squad. So we went into that game today, Frank, 3 regulars down, and yet we played Dundee United off the park. How much of that performance today was about Celtic being outstanding compared to Dundee United not being very good?
Well, Dundee United were not very good today, poor defensively, and going forward, they kept giving Celtic the ball back. Now, if a team does that, they're in trouble, and Dundee United done that today, and I think Celtic cruised through the game because of the poor Dundee United team. But you've got to give Celtic credit. The goals they scored, 3-0 away from home, a very, very good result, and keeps us up there because Celtic were under pressure today. And I think when they get that first goal, what a goal that was, when they get that first goal, that took the pressure off. And when the second goal, I thought that was the 3 points in the bag because I couldn't see Dundee United coming back. But you're telling me about all the injuries. Now, is that not even better that the manager is making this club into a team? No matter who goes out there, they're all fighting for each other just now. And I think that's what's that's what's giving Celtic the edge now. They're all fighting for each other and starting to play as a team, which is the most important thing in football. Just look at West Ham under Davy Moyes, brilliant guy, a good friend of mine, and he has got all his players working hard, the same as Celtic, and they won 3-2 yesterday, and they're amazing, West Ham, and that's because David Moyes has got them playing as a team, and Celtic are now starting to play like a team.
Great point, Frank, because that issue you make, I mean, obviously West Ham, like every Premier League team, spends hundreds of millions in their team and their squad, but compared to the likes of Chelsea, Man City, Man United, they're not as big spenders as any of them, but they don't have massive out-and-out stars. Antonio, I think, is an incredible star. I think Declan Rice is a fantastic player, but you're right that he's got them working really hard for one another. And I look at Celtic today, they were just absolutely imperious. They were absolutely dominant, simply outstanding. I mean, I'm going to go as far to say, I said it right at the start, I think it's the best I've seen Celtic play under Ange Postecoglou. I think that's the best performance, most complete performance I've seen. And I'll tell you, an interesting wee rider to that is I think it's the best I've ever seen Tom Rogic. I don't think I've seen Tom Rogic play a better game.
Well, Tom Rogic, he could only play for 60 minutes. Now he can play for more than 60 minutes. I think I don't know what's happened to him. Players improve and get worse as the season goes on, and that happens a lot. But Rogic, I thought that, he can only play for an hour. He's playing for more than an hour, and he's not also playing. The goal he scored was world class, and I don't say that about a lot of goals. That was world class, taking on about 3 or 4 players, and then the finish was sublime. How he put it in the corner, and it was just a magical goal. And we were all watching the game here, and we all jumped up, and they're the things that football clubs have to do to get the young boys interested. See the magic of these players and the young boys. There'll be a lot of young boys today going like that. I wouldn't mind playing for Celtic one day after watching that piece of magic. And that's what football is all about. Keep the fans happy and give them world-class moments like that, and you'll get the fans in all the time.
Well, one thing you're going to be pleased with, because this is podcast number 12 for us, and in each of the 11 previous podcasts, you consistently and correctly highlight the defence and how the defence is critical to a successful season. And you were highlighting earlier in this season that we were losing far too many goals. Clean sheet today.
A clean sheet is very important for me. That's been Celtic's Achilles heel for over 100 years, except when Martin O'Neill and Jock Stein were managers. They got the defensive right. They were brilliant. They didn't lose a lot of goals, and they went on into finals of European competitions. Jock Stein winning the European Cup in '67, of course, and Martin O'Neill getting into the final UEFA. It was because they had good defences. So that's just as important as scoring goals. I love to see guys getting an tackle and a late tackle for a certain goal, and the goalkeeper's making great saves. That's all part of the game. And I think the Celtic fans love their teams going forward, and that's great that they love their team going forward. But we've got to defend, and I think Ange will get to that eventually. I don't think he's got to yet. I think the United were poor today. If they would have scored a goal against Celtic today, I would have been disappointed. But there's nothing. We keep winning, and you've got to remember Celtic were under pressure today. That was a good victory with Rangers yesterday, so they had to go up to Dundee and get a result, and that's what they've done. And they've done it in a style that made all the Celtic supporters happy.
Frank, you talk about pressure, and it's a great point, because we are now in a position whereby we're constantly playing catch up, just the way the games are coming out. We had to beat Aberdeen last week at home, but then we had a tough tie on the Thursday night, because Rangers played on the Wednesday night. They were away to Hibernian. And I believe you've got a wee story about the bookies, because inevitably, the Rangers were struggling at Easter Road, and with 5 minutes to go, they got a penalty.
Yeah, I don't. You're saying that in a surprising manner, Tommy, which I don't think you should be saying it. Every time this season, Rangers have been struggling.
There's a penalty.
There's a penalty, and a lot of people have noticed that and been very clever in backing Rangers to get a penalty. And I see that the bookmakers have stopped taking any bets in now for Rangers getting a penalty.
Well, I don't frequent the bookies. I have a philosophy, Frank, because I was hooked a number of years ago, and
yes,
lost an awful lot of money. So I don't go near the bookies anymore. As I keep saying to all my friends, the next poor bookie that you meet will be the first poor bookie that you've ever met.
Yeah, that's right.
And I also never tire in telling people that you only ever hear people who bet tell you about their winnings. They very, very rarely want to tell you about all the losses.
They will never tell you about the losses.
So from that point of view, I don't know about that story, but it is utterly incredulous, ridiculous that we have this situation developed during the week where there is a 50-50 call on a Celtic goal at Parkhead, where they hit the post, where they have a one-on-one with a goalkeeper, where they had over 70% of possession. So it's not as if it was a lucky escape or something that they needed to pull them out of the bag. They were dominant on Thursday night. They get a goal, and there's clearly, depending on what angle you look at it from, it could have been that Kyogo was behind the ball as the ball was played, but he then moves so quickly that by the time he gets there, he's in front of the ball. And there is even a case for talking about them being in line with each other when the ball's played, and he moves quickly, so that some people say, no, he was offside. Either way you call it, you've got pundits who in studios watching it 5, 6, 7 times, still on the sure, right? So how a referee is going to get hammered when he only gets the one chance to see it? And if he's got doubt in his mind, he can't call it off. Surely he's got to give the benefit of doubt to the offensive team. But there's almost a committee of inquiry by the media, and we've got the SFA pulling out this big guy Crawford Allen, and they'd never heard of, to tell us, maybe this was the wrong decision and all the rest of it. Where was this guy when Sakala gets a penalty against Aberdeen when they're 2-1 down with minutes to go, and it was 8 minutes to go? And the guy thought, you've built wardrobes in the past. He felt like an MFI wardrobe, Frank. Gets a penalty. Where was he when Sakala gets an offside goal against Motherwell when they're 1-0 down? There's the committees of inquiry then. It is ridiculous amount of time and attention has been paid in this particular decision. And it does show up, in my opinion, just how frightened some of the establishment figures are within the SFA and the likes about Celtic winning the title this year.
Well, in the 60s and the 70s, I thought that was a very poor time for referees making a lot of decisions. But it seems to be coming back a wee bit, and that's not good for football. Football is fair, and it has got to be treated in that way, and where everybody... I always remember, I would like to go back to the way it was, because when I played football, except for the big teams, the real big teams like Celtic and Rangers would always, they've got the biggest crowds and the biggest roar. So if anything happens, the referee usually gives, to Celtic and Rangers. But I always found that everything evened itself out. So even my whole time in playing football, I would say that everything more or less evened itself out with our referees when I played football. And I'm thinking that I would all for this new condition they brought in, but I'm now against it. I would like now for referees, they make mistakes, football players make mistakes, and I would like it to go back to the old way. I don't like what they're doing now, and I think it's bad for football having to wait another minute or 2 minutes. A football game could be flowing, and then we've got to wait 2 minutes for a decision by the television. I don't think that's good for football.
So you're against VAR? Are you saying VAR is not good?
I was shouting for VAR to come in. And people are now, we're talking about millimetres. We're talking about, a guy's fingernail is in front of him. Yeah, what a lot of rubbish that is. I think we should go back to the referees refereeing the game and forget about VAR, because I think I was all for it. I was 100% for it. Now I'm against VAR because of it's interrupting the game. You could be watching a good game of football, and then all of a sudden a guy's a millimetre offside. My goodness, what's it all about?
Frank, I'm sorry, mate. I think the genie's out the bottle. Here's a mobile phone, right? If you were to argue about, these mobile phones get used far too much to give people abuse and to cause anxiety for people, young people in particular, let's just go back to payphones. Let's go back to landlines, right? It's not going to happen, right? VAR is out there now. The only way it's going to go forward now, in my opinion, is VAR getting bigger and getting introduced even more. So I understand where you're coming from. I know it can be frustrating, and all the wee squiggly lines are drawing. Was his knee over that line? It was his elbow. You can't score with your elbow, so that doesn't count. All that type of stuff, right? But it's going to happen, mate. Whether we like it or not, it's going to happen. And I do want it in because I think there's a lot of people going to regret bringing it in. Because, quite frankly, when you look at a stat that I seen the other day, 80% of all the penalties given so far this season have went to one club. Guess who? The Rangers. Right? Well, they've not had a man sent off yet. The Rangers. We've got a situation, I think, where it helps the officials to have VAR. Because if they make mistakes, and by the way, how many times you go to a football park and you misplace a pass or you sky a shot over the bar, it's a mistake. It's an honest mistake. Referees are the same. They'll make mistakes. Sometimes the mistakes become suspicious. VAR can take the suspicion out of it, because if a referee, like for instance, the other night against Hibs, a lot of Celtic fans were saying it wasn't a penalty. Porteous pulled his leg away. Ryan Kent kicked him rather than the other way around. If it had happened for Celtic, I'd have been shouting for the penalty. Why? Kent played for it. He did well. He cut across the defender, and Porteous's crime was to stick his leg out. Now, the fact that he didn't make that much contact doesn't matter. If it happened to us, we'd have wanted that. The Sakala one at Aberdeen was completely different. There was just nowhere near enough contact to justify a penalty with that one. But VAR could have helped the other night. We had the penalty awarded against us last week, Aberdeen. And at first, when I seen it, when I'm at the game, I'm shouting at Abada, "That's terrible, you've caused a penalty." I see it in the replays. That was a ridiculous decision. It's never been a penalty. He's deliberately, the defenders kicked Abada's leg. Abada had pulled his leg out, in my opinion, nowhere near enough contact for a penalty. So I think VAR, I'm not saying it will solve the problems because there will still be arguments, but I think it takes a bit of the suspicion out of the whole situation.
But I think there's got to be VAR for Scottish games then, if you're saying all that. And I'm for VAR. I want to see the truth. That's what I want to see in football. But VAR doesn't seem to be working. And if it's not on a game, I think it should be played in all games if you're going to do that. But I think we've got to try and get it where, that it's getting used properly. I think you're right about the other night. The Hibs player pulled out of the tackle. No problem about him. I thought it was a penalty to start with. If I was a referee, I would have gave the penalty. But when I look at it with VAR, it's not a penalty. The guy's pulled out the tackle. The Rangers player is going down anyway because he thinks the guy is going to leave his leg there. But he pulled his leg away. And he fell and he wasn't touched. So it wasn't a penalty. And VAR would have proved that. And I think you're right. Everything you say, but I also think I'm right as well.
I think what you're saying, Frank, and you're talking about a time. Let's face it. When you played football, I think there was also dodgy decisions. But I've got to say, I think you played in a much more competitive league, and at a time when teams could all beat each other. You had a strong Dundee United, you had a strong Aberdeen, you had even strong St Mirren and other teams, Hearts and Dundee and everything else. They were all competing. You played in a time when it wasn't automatic that Celtic or Rangers were going to win the leagues, because you played in a time when Dundee United won the league or Aberdeen won the league. So you're playing in a much more competitive period. If we're absolutely honest, there's only two teams are going to win the Scottish Premiership. There's no other teams could win the cups. There's no one-off games. You can always have that. St Johnstone proved that last year. Unlike the real Invincibles, when Celtic did have an invincible year, a domestic invincible. You hear the Rangers going on about an invincible. I mean, through the league unbeaten, all right, but it's not as good as the Celtic, because we actually didn't get beat in any domestic match when we had our invincibles. That's what you call an invincibles. But what I want today, and we're on live here, so I don't know whether it's been discussed, but I want to see Chris Boyd being absolutely apoplectic about Butcher for Dundee United not getting sent off the day, because his tackle on David Turnbull was a leg breaker. A leg breaker. If Turnbull hadn't jumped at the right time, his leg was broken. That was a studs showing right in. Doesn't he get sent off, gets a booking. I want Chris Boyd to be going on and on and on about that and jumping up and down in his chair the way he did on Thursday night about Celtic getting a goal. That the very, very worst was 50-50. But he was saying, it's definitely off, definitely off. I thought they were there to be pundits rather than to be supporters of clubs sitting in their chairs and representing that club.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen with the Rangers players commentating. I think they're going to have a wee bit of bias, and that's natural. But everything you said there was right, and the VAR is in one game and it's not in another game, and different decisions are getting made. I think the VAR has got to be at all games, and all games have got to be refereed properly. But I just think it's time wasting. It's 2 minutes. A game could be flowing beautifully, and then it's got a 2 minute. We wait for a television thing, and it tells the truth, and it's good that it tells the truth. And everything that you've said there is right. And I think commentators shouldn't be as biased as some of them are. They're all good guys. I like them all. They're all good guys. But they've just got that wee thing, I think, when you've got the whole race. If they say that wasn't a penalty for Rangers and things like that, then the fans will go against them. They can't have that happening as well. So they're under a wee bit of pressure for the fans not to say what they should really be saying.
There's a line, Frank. I think there's a line. It's maybe not a very apparent line, but there's a line that you walk where being more favourable towards a club, and you'll get that with ex-Celtic, ex-Rangers players, and you expect that. Chris Boyd, in my opinion, crossed the line. He crossed the line into a situation where he didn't want to talk about anything else. He just wanted to bring it back. I watched the commentary, and the female presenter was trying to move on. No. What about, you've not asked my opinion? And it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. So I think he has to have a wee look at himself and say, oh, maybe I went too far there. I don't mind them being a wee bit biased. John Hartson, others, I hope they're biased. I'd like to see some ex-Celtic players being a wee bit more favourable in their commentary, I've got to say. However, I think he crossed the line there. And all I'm going to say about VAR, and you're talking about the times, the lapses between controversial decisions and reporting it, I think that's about honing and improving the technology rather than the principle of VAR. I think, unfortunately, VAR is going to be here to stay, and all that's going to happen is it's going to get better so that the times between decisions will be cut, and there'll not be as much waiting about and getting cold and all the rest of it.
I've got to remember that, the people that support football in Scotland, these stadiums are extremely cold in the winter. And these guys are wanting to go in 5 minutes before the game and go away at the end of the game. So they're maybe 95 minutes in the stadium. Because of VAR, there might be 105 minutes in the stadium and getting colder and colder as the night goes on. So we've got to look after the fans as well. They're in the stadium for a lot longer, just to get the truth of what's happening in the football park. But, I love VAR and I hate it. I'm 50-50. I think the referees, in my time, everything evened itself out. I would love to go back to that rather than having to wait 2 minutes. And it's quite interesting at the time. You're looking at the line and you're looking at somebody's fingernail. Is it onside or offside? And I say to myself, do I really want to see if that's offside or onside? Because a guy's fingernails offside.
Frank, let's take a very, very real situation, right? Let's take the example. We're away in Germany 10 days ago. Great cross in. Kyogo nearly gets there, gets wiped out with the keeper, right? Now, at the time, I thought it was a poor decision by the goalkeeper. I thought he wiped out a player, and I thought he should be booked. But I didn't think the ref was going to give us it. And he was forced to go and check it on VAR. And not only did we get a booking, we got a penalty. I go a wee bit further and saying, was it dangerous? Was it dangerous enough to justify a sending off? Was that goalkeeper being wholly reckless and therefore in the territory of a dismissal? And I think, yes, I think he probably should have been sent off. But there's me, even with VAR, disagreeing with the decision, but glad about one part of the decision. Because we got a penalty that we didn't think we were going to get. And it was the right decision.
See, it's so intricate, all the different things that can happen on a football park. Maybe there's a player today, he was the last man, Celtic player went through. That's a sending off for me. He's the last man. He's got a clear chance. If he's not brought down, he's got a clear chance of scoring a goal, and he got a yellow card. So we're all. I think that's a great situation about football. Is none of us know everything, and we're always talking about it. We're talking about it just now. All the different things that are happening in football, and I think that's good for football. And everybody's got different ideas. You're talking about Rangers players commentating on Celtic decisions. I don't know if I was working for BBC, I might not ask them, because I know the answer before it's coming. And they've got to then change.
But you couldn't work for the BBC because you're an ex-Celtic player. They don't seem to have a policy of ex-Celtic players.
Well, they should.
It seems almost as if it's a prerequisite of working for the BBC is you need to have played for the Rangers.
Well, I think BBC should iron that out and get the exact same people commentating for BBC.
That'd be nice. As Rangers.
That should be the case. We're not talking, it would be nice. That should be 100%. That happens. So BBC are showing themselves to be biased as well now because of that, because they're only bringing on Rangers players for these games. And there's plenty of ex-Celtic players will come on. And I always like to be honest about football. If I think something should be given to Rangers, I'll say that. Or
you're too honest sometimes.
I know that I might be too honest, but I would rather do that. And if I get a bit of stick after Celtic fans, I would have a laugh.
Never mind Celtic fans, you get stick after your own boys. Because you know...
My boys are very, very fanatical.
When I was making the point 2012, the Rangers were punished for cheating, you were almost saying, the game needs them and all the rest of it. You were being very fair.
What I was saying...
I think it's too fair.
What I was saying was the Rangers supporters done nothing wrong and the Rangers players done nothing wrong. Why should they be punished? If anybody has done anything wrong, the chairman's done something wrong, he should be...
put in jail.
Well, not put in jail.
Yes,
he should
put in jail.
He should be...
It's criminal what they did.
Be in front of the SFA and charged for that. But... I think that was a bad decision because it took a lot of money out of Scottish football, and I think we're feeling it now. These clubs like Hibs...
I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, but Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen weren't getting as much money, so the Scottish League goes down because if you've not got the money, you can't buy the players. And I see that happening in Europe now. We're not as good in Europe now since Rangers were taken out the league and put down to the third division. I thought that's my decision. I thought it was a bad decision for Scottish football, a bad decision for Celtic because they never had as much money.
I've got a call. Hello. Well, the thing is, that's exactly what we're doing because I seen your name and I said, I better take it. Paul McGarvey. Paul McGarvey on the phone.
Paul.
Want to have a wee word with his dad.
Right. Tell him I'll talk to him later on.
Right. Charlie Miller's beating him at pool now, so he's wanting some tips.
Don't miss the ball.
Listen, what your dad's still going on about how Rangers, they were badly treated and all that stuff. Instead, they've been put out of business altogether. So I've just told him that it's not just the Celtic fans that disagrees with him; it's his own boys that disagree with him. Your dad still said 3 up front.
Oh, 3 up front, a mile.
Paul, thanks for the call, mate. And get people to donate to the good cause. All the best, son. Take care. I had to take that because that was your son phoning just to say hello and say that he even agrees with me.
No, that's okay. No, that's what we were talking about football earlier on, how everything's all different. All the players are all different. And that's my opinion. And I will never change that opinion. About Rangers going down to the third division. I think they should have been kept in.
Well, I disagree. Wait a minute. For the
sake of Scottish football.
Never mind this. For a wee minute, you said something there about they hadn't done anything wrong and it took money out of Scottish football. Frank, they operated an illegal system of tax avoidance. And do you know what that did?
But who done that?
That took money out of our hospitals and our schools and our road sweeping. That was bloody well wrong. And they needed to be punished.
I know you want to get back into politics. You're good at politics. But I'm telling you that it took millions, tens of millions of pounds out of Scottish football. And look at Scottish football in Europe. I always say if Scottish football's doing well in Europe, then that's brilliant. If they're not doing well in Europe, then that's not very good. And since that happened to Rangers, Scottish football is went down in Europe. And I think it's because...
I don't think it matters, Frank. I think there are things that are bigger in life, and integrity is something that is just priceless.
But
right?
why,
in my opinion, contravened sporting integrity because they took advantage of an illegal tax avoiding system in order to bring in higher and better quality players that other teams couldn't afford because they were paying their taxes.
But who done that? Who done that?
David Murray.
David Murray should have been prosecuted, not Rangers. And David Murray, if he done all that things that you're saying are wrong, he should have been put in jail, not Rangers being put into the third division.
No,
I was against that decision at the beginning. I'm still against it. My three boys disagree with me, but we've disagreed on other things as well.
Well, Christmas dinner is going to be good because you are going to be throwing the Brussels sprouts at each other. That's what's going to happen over Christmas dinner because we brought it up
well,
again.
I'm a good catcher.
But we're going backwards, right? We're going backwards. What we should be doing is talking about a very good result against Aberdeen. Very good result against Hearts, where again, for parts of that game on Thursday night, I thought we were excellent. I thought we played some fantastic
could have lost
football.
some late goals in the game as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That was slack.
Although when we James's through with the keeper to beat, what would you have done? You remember the one where Craig Gordon saves it with his left foot? Surely should have went back across him instead of trying to go down in the near post.
I agree.
But anyway, the point I'm making is you go for Aberdeen to Hearts, two big games.
Yeah.
You come away to Tannadice. Tannadice is never an easy place to come to. And I am so pleased by that performance today. I just thought it was a consummate performance. I suppose when we do these podcasts, I'm always going on about the glass half full, glass half empty, right? So let me be the negative guy because you're usually dead positive. Glass half full, just for a wee moment. I know it was a consummate performance. It's the best performance I've seen all season, right? I'm going to say that Juranovic can improve because, ironically enough, I've been calling for him to get played at right back for weeks. He get played at right back today. And the truth is, there was a 3 or 4 times where he actually got into great positions and played bad balls. And I thought Taylor was also a weakling. I thought he gave the ball away a number of times. People will say, quite rightly, he's not been playing for, I think, months now. It's his first game back. But the big boy skills come on. I don't think he gave the ball away at all. I'm so pleased for him that he's got his first goal. I thought, you think about that break, Frank. Scales has ran probably 70, 80 yards to go up and try and support. The ball from Abada, if I'm absolutely honest, I think was meant for Kyogo. But it's went past both Kyogo and the defender, and the big boy Scales has come in, kept his head. It would have been easy to blast that. Side-footed it. That's him up and running. That's his first goal for Glasgow Celtic. What a day for him.
And what a big boost. What a big boost that will be for him as well. And the confidence he'll get from that and the fans there. That you just can't buy that. And that will give him a boost. And he could go on to be not a bad player.
Well, I hope so. But here's the bit where we become completely and utterly hypocritical. Because I'm going to say something to you now, which, it's going to sound hypocritical. And most fans will be saying, Tommy, what the hell do you know, right? Because I'm going to say that on Thursday night, we've got Real Betis at home. I think Ange should put out the reserve team. I don't think we should be playing any of our first team regulars. In fact,
is that Parkhead?
It's at Parkhead, Frank. I was sitting there. I was sitting last night, and I was looking through. You could give me. I'm
going to answer this.
Well, wait a minute. I go through this, and I'm going to ask you your question, right? Okay, sorry, ask for your response because I thought to myself, well, should we play Hart? Why not give Bain a wee run out and give Big Joe a rest? Why don't we go with Dane Murray, Uragize, and Scales, 3 at the back? Why don't we go wide right with Abada? He needs some extra games. Give McCarthy a start. Give Shaw a start. Give Henderson a start. And wide left, give Montgomery a start. And up front, go with 2, Aieti and Johnson. That's my starting 11. None of them, apart from if you played Hart instead of Bain, are your regular first team, your best team. But we are in a situation, Frank. I was looking at the fixtures. We've got Motherwell at home next Sunday. Then on the 15th of December, we're away to Ross County. 19th of December, we've got a cup final against Hibs. 22nd of December, so only 3 days after the cup final, we're away to St Mirren, and I'm hoping you're going to get me a ticket for that game. We'll come back to that.
I'm trying to get tickets at Love Street, and they're struggling because they're full.
26th of December, we're away to St Johnstone. 29th of December, we're home to Hibs in the league. and then 2nd of January we play the Rangers at home. That's a hell of a schedule, Frank.
Yeah, I agree with it, and I understand what you're saying. Rest players, and we must win this league because it's worth so much money, and the league is everything. But if I'm working hard all week and I pay whatever it is I pay to get into Celtic Park, I'm a fan of going there, and I've worked hard for my money, and I spend money there buying their food and things like that, and I go up and I see them playing the second team. I'm not going to Celtic Park to watch the second team and pay all that money. I want to go and see Celtic winning a European tie that night. That's what I want to see.
Do you know,
you're saying that you want to put a Celtic team out that's going to get beat that night.
Well, I never said that.
No, if you play in all the players that are second best, now Celtic with their first team will be struggling to beat Real Betis in that game.
They just beat Barcelona yesterday at Barcelona.
No, but it doesn't matter about all that. We played games. We played Ajax, who were the European champions at the time, and beat them in Ajax. Every time we went out and played a game of football, we wanted to win it. And I'm getting a wee bit puzzled that you want to go and watch a second team in a European tie, and I completely understand what you're saying, that the league, it doesn't matter about this game, and the league is more important, and you're right in everything you're saying. But if I'm earning money...
Well, let's hear for the fans. We're on live now. Let's hope the fans can either phone up or go online. Let's hear what the fans have got to say about this, because I'll tell you, see what you've just said there, Frank, about a second team. It's not necessarily a second team, because every one of the players I've mentioned are in the first team squad. They're all first team squad players. And I'll tell you, this is my bit, just return to you and then I'll come back to you. Wouldn't it be better for us to see some of these first team squad players in a real game, a full game against a good opposition, in order that we can see, have they got the potential? Can they step up in the future? We bought the big fella Uragizi. We bought the boy Shaw. We've brought in other players there. You've got the boy Abada. You've got McCarthy. You've got the young boy Dane Murray, who, he had a game against West Ham, and some people say, he had a bad game. Antonio scored 2 goals. We're talking about a world-class centre-forward. Give the guy a chance. Personally, as a Celtic fan, I'd rather see these guys play a full game and see some potential, and then have all of our first team squad available, fit and ready to play against Motherwell, than play on Thursday night and pick up another 2 or 3 injuries, Frank. I just think it's their league. We're already through in Europe. See, if we win, we get nothing else. I think you get 250 grand for winning a game, right? But it means nothing. We're already through to this 3rd tier competition in Europe. It doesn't matter what happens on Thursday night. So why not save our players and give us a chance to see the fringe players?
By the way, what you're saying is right, but as a fan, if I'm going up to see all the games I played in, I gave 100%, and most of the team I played in, all the other players gave 100%, and we didn't want to be dropped. I think the best time to bring in the players is when make them subs, and if you're winning 2 or 3 now, bring them on into a winning team and give them confidence, rather than bring them into a team where they're going to get thumped 3-0 and their confidence is going to go down even further. I don't see how that's going to improve the team.
Well, Frank, are these guys good enough to play for Celtic or not?
A lot of the guys,
if they're not good enough, they shouldn't be there. That's the truth.
A lot of guys at Celtic Park are not good enough to play for Celtic. Kyogo, he wanted to take Kyogo off about 20 minutes last week in one of the games, and he didn't bring him off because there was nobody good enough in the bench to come on for him. Mm-hmm. So he took him off with a minute to go. I think that sums it up. A lot of the players are not good enough that you want to see playing, and that's good. But if they're not in a good team and they're just coming in, they're not going to get confidence for the game if they're going to get beat. So why do that? I want to bring my players that I'm going to bring through. I want to wait till maybe 1-2-0, bring them on into a good Celtic team that's winning, give them confidence, and they'll grow from that. They will not grow from getting a hammer off a team.
Well, Frank, I'm looking at it the other way. First of all,
I understand what you're saying.
Well, first of all, I don't think they should get a hammering, because if they've been signed to play for Glasgow Celtic, they should be good enough to put up a good show against Real Betis. Real Betis aren't the world beaters. They're a good team, but no world beaters, right? Albion Aeti, for instance, started against Real Betis in the home game. He actually scored a goal. So let him start again, right? I don't think he's good enough for Celtic, but give him a run out. Give him a run out. But here's the point.
But you said that you don't think he's good enough. Yeah, you've said that all the players that are signed for Celtic are good enough. We know that there's many players at Parkhead just now are not good enough to play for Celtic. We know that right now.
Give them the chance to prove us wrong. Right, I mean, who are we? You know, you're different because you've been there, you've seen it, you've done it, you've worn the t-shirt, right? But me as a fan, I've never been a professional footballer, and professional footballers must get pissed off. These guys, amateur footballers, telling us this and telling us that, right? I don't know what the big boy Liam Shaw can give us. I don't know what the big boy Uragizi can give us. I don't know whether Aeti's good enough. I mean, I've seen him and I don't think he is, but give them the chance to prove us wrong. Or, in the case of Uragizi, the boy Scales, the McCarthy in the middle, give them some more game time because they desperately need game time. What I don't want is, I watched Tom Roderick today. I thought he was outstanding. Callum McGregor, if it hadn't been for Tom Roderick's goal and his overall performance, you would be awarding Callum McGregor hands down man of the match today. I thought he ran the midfield like a maestro. He reminded you of Paul McStay, an absolute maestro today. Give them a rest because we've got another important game on Sunday, next Sunday at home to Motherwell.
I understand what you're saying about give them a rest, and that's good. I've not got a problem about giving players a rest, but you don't bring on players that you know and I know that are not good enough to play for Celtic, playing for Celtic in front of the fans who work hard every week and pay the money to Celtic, and they're always there to give the money to the directors at Celtic Park. They're always there and they help Celtic so much. It's unbelievable. And they don't want to see Celtic players that are not good enough to play for Celtic.
But do they know that yet, Frank? How do they know they're not good enough for Celtic?
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that the big fella Uragizi, the big fella Liam Shaw, the big fella Liam Scales, the young boy Henderson, a homegrown product. We've bought McCarthy on a 4-year contract. Why don't we play them all?
I think McCarthy. I like McCarthy, but I think he's been disappointing so far at Celtic, and I don't understand why. I seen him about 4 weeks ago at the Ross County game, and he never had a bit of fat on him. He looks lean, he looks really fit, and he's a good player, but he's not been a good player for Celtic yet.
I'm going to say that last week I think he had his best game in a Celtic jersey so far against Aberdeen. Second half in particular, okay. I think he actually came into his own. We got the goal because of McCarthy, because he beautiful wee feint to make a pass, and then he played the ball into Abada. Abada should have scored. Goalkeeper saves it. Johnny Hayes goes to clear it, and it hits McGregor and goes in. Wee bit fortuitous, but certainly nothing that we didn't deserve. That's for sure on the balance of play. But I do think, Frank, that we do lack depth and quality in our squad, and I'm so excited by the reports that are going around all of the social media sites and even some of the mainstream media suggesting that we've got at least three. I'd like to see it by a wee bit more, 4 or 5, but we've got at least 3 signings almost in the bag. All Jai League players, Japanese players, one of whom is the top goal scorer because the Jai League's just finished their season. So their season, it's a great time to sign players. Their season's just finished. So these guys are coming to you fit. They're not coming to you and needing to work on their sharpness. No, they're coming to you, they've played a season, they're fit, they're ready to go. And the boy Mayada, who I've seen on YouTube videos, Frank, I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at him. He looks outstanding. He looks a huge prospect. Speed to burn. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. He's coming to us as the top goal scorer in the Jai League this season, apparently. That's what I want to see, because I think this January is critical to Celtic. I think if we're going to win the league, we need to strengthen in January.
I think they need to get somebody up front to help Kyogo. He's got nobody up front to help him. And, you know, people say, play 2 up front and 3 up front. Oh, a lot of rubbish. No, not a lot of rubbish. I played with Charlie Nicholas and David Provan wide right, and we hammered teams. And the best form of defence is attack. And playing 3 up, nobody plays 3 up now. It's amazing, because they would have to play 4 guys at the back and you've still got a man spare, and people say, "Oh, you can't play 2 up front. That doesn't happen." What a lot of rubbish that is.
3 up front. You should.
No, 2 or 3.
I know there is a difference. There's a difference. You can play 2 up front.
You play 2 up front.
But you're calling for 3 up front.
No, but we played with 3 up front and we beat 8. We went over to Ajax in Amsterdam and we played 3 up front and we beat them. Right. You know, I never heard any Celtic players saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have played 3 up." We were magnificent that night because they had to defend the 3 players.
What was your formation? What
we played 4-4. We played 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 all the time.
Right,
half and half.
I just think in the modern game, Frank,
modern game is the same game as it was when I played. We try and change it. The modern game is get worse. They're passing the ball about at the back. They're passing the ball about the back for 5 minutes, and a guy with the ball in the right-hand side of a park, he's ready to attack, and then he passes it back to the right back, and he passes it back to the goalkeeper. Is that football?
Well, of course it's football. It might not be football the way you guys played it.
It's negative football, and fans don't want to see that. They want to see the guy taking them on. If he doesn't beat him, then fair enough. At least they took him on. I would argue
that in your day, in your playing day, there was less concern about giving away possession. You would try balls down the line a lot more often than is tried nowadays. Today, the coaching systems are all about possession. Don't give away possession. No, so don't go for a 50-50 ball.
Wait, what happens?
Get a 70-30 ball.
Just look at the passes that were made today that made the goals. No, if they weren't made, they wouldn't have scored the brilliant goals. And look at Rogic with his bit of magic taking on players and then putting the ball in the goal. Fantastic, magical goal. I jumped up. It takes a lot for me to jump up when I see a goal.
Especially with the knees now.
Well, it's no problem. When I see a good goal, I'll jump up. And I jumped up. That was magical. That made my day. I'm so happy now. Celtic have got a great score today against Dundee United. They've not lost a goal, and we've seen world-class finishes. I very seldom see goals that are world-class. I watched the West Ham game last night, and their third goal was world-class as well. And I love seeing that, you know.
Well, Frank, listen, mate, I'm awful sorry. You were discussing with me earlier on, and you were saying, an hour's a long time. We're almost out of time.
I thought it was only half time.
Well, we're not even getting a half time. You know that we're getting kicked out the building because there's other people coming on. You know, it's not just us. It's not just us. But what a pleasure it's been to come through to a Celtic State of Mind here in the studio and to record our own podcast live and help with a fundraising project.
Well, helping with the fundraising project is what Celtic's been for 130 years or whatever. Yes. And is it not wonderful that that's happened for that amount of time, and how many people are benefited from Celtic being a football club in Glasgow?
Well, look, I've been given a jersey, fantastic jersey here. It's the Celtic State of Mind Hoops jersey. You've also been given one of the absolutely fantastic tracksuits. I hope people will go online and purchase these because they're brilliant. I feel brilliant in this.
I do like the one with the shamrock. I think that's
there's 3 with shamrock, so you need to make up your mind.
You've got to remember that Ireland's, it's got a lot to do with Celtic as well.
Yes. Well, that's why the name Celtic was chosen. It was to bring the Scottish with the Irish. That's why Brother Walfred all those years ago chose the name Celtic, to unite the Irish with the Scottish connection.
But the only problem about that is Ireland's got independence in Scotland.
We need our independence. Well, you're getting me onto politics. I
shouldn't have. I'm sorry.
Trying to get me onto politics, and I'm speaking about that all day, as you know. Listen, we're going to have to wind up. I just want to finally say, please continue to donate to this fantastic cause. Let's support St Mary's and make sure that the birthplace of Celtic is looked after. And next year, early next year, I hope all of the fans will support us in the continuing project for the Willie Maley Memorial, because the statue is nearly there.
That's amazing.
Nearly there. 43,000 has been raised. They need 60,000. That 17,000 has to come from Glasgow, from Scotland. So please, Celtic fans, Keep tuning in to A Celtic State of Mind. Keep supporting these causes and keep supporting the best team in Scotland. Let's go Celtic!